Good morning, Ghana. You are tuned into News Magazine with me, Irbad Ibrahim, and today we are going to continue our discussion on basic education. We'll speak to the chairperson of the Ghana Education Council, Mr. Michael Nsowa, and we also have in the studios a veteran in education, Mr. Anto, and he's currently a lecturer with the Ghana Technology University. We go for a quick commercial break. When we come back, Abena helps us with the trending news. Do stick and stay with us.
Grow your word in a school that has keen interest in academic excellence and sound religious upbringing? Then Apostle Safo School of Arts and Sciences is the place. Apostle Safo School of Arts and Sciences, Great Asas, offers general arts, business, home economics, visual arts, general science and technical courses in auto mechanics and applied electricity. Great Asas has well-equipped laboratories for all the science-related courses, an ICT laboratory, and a well-stocked library. Excellent boarding facilities are available for both boys and girls with adequate security measures to ensure your world's safety. Students also have the privilege to go to Apostle Safo Suaye at Gomu Ampota for practical lessons with the proprietor, Apostle Dr. Engineer Kwedo Safo, for 1 month during the long vacation. We also have a school bus that picks your word from home to school and back home. Great Asas has a cadet corps, a choir, drama and debating club to harness the hidden talents in your ward. Locate Apostle Safo School of Arts and Sciences at Awoshila Stop, Accra, Ghana. Great Asas.
You're welcome back. Abena, what do you have for us by way of trending news today?
Well, as usual, I've got packed stories. But before I proceed with our trending news for today, I'd like to
I hear somebody is celebrating a birthday.
Yes, yes. A mother of all, our mother.
Yeah.
She's in the person, Nana Ajwa, a.k.a. Sweet Girl. She's
so she's
mother
sweet?
of all, a very loving and
great.
kind-hearted person.
Great.
We give you a shout out. We love you so much, and we wish you all the best in your. On this special day.
But have you bothered to ask how old she is now?
Oh yes, yes, but that's in closed doors.
Okay, so we wish her a very happy birthday.
Exactly.
And many happy returns.
Yes, long life, prosperity, continuing to glow. We love you so, so much. And we wouldn't, not to forget one of our workers here.
Another
She's
birthday.
Yes. Her name is...
You've actually forgotten
Have
her
you?
birthday.
No, she's called Amma. She's called Amma.
How old
anyway.
she is.
Yes. Oh, definitely, of course, I'm not going to. She's called Amma Bua. We wish you all the best as well. Okay. And continue with your hard work. We also love and cherish you so much. So that will be it. And we go straight to our trending news for today. Our first trending news says, youth employment critical for African economic growth. That's from My Joy Online. And
the youth bulge, we call it youth bulge in population studies. Africa just needs to do something about a very young youth demographic. Normally, young people are used as cannon fodder in times of conflict, political conflict, ethnic conflict, and religious conflict. So therefore, they say the devil always finds work for the idle hand. So therefore, if we get them engaged, lucratively engaged, it will be very difficult for them to be used to perpetrate any acts of violence. Certainly. So I perfectly agree with that call.
Certainly. And then our next story says, supporting planting for food and jobs by farming, ministering to SHS heads.
I think the planting for foods and jobs is one of the flagship programs by the Republic of Ghana. As a state, we've embraced it. And according to statistics from the state, it employs about 700,000 people, or that is the projection that is being made. So now that the ministry is giving a nudge to senior high school students, because I hear they are going to have a very long break over Christmas.
Over 3 months?
Yeah, a very long break over Christmas. So therefore, if they are included in the larger program, it is going to be helpful. Food security is key for our long-term national development as a country and for our productivity as well.
Did you ever farm in when you were in
I never liked weeding.
Oh, really?
But Today they are mechanized. Farming? I love farming. Okay. Kofi Annan retired from the UN and he became a farmer. But there are mechanized ways of doing things, and I believe that we should give the needed recognition to our farmers. We recognize them once in a year, and
well, I think you should
I'll tell you this joke. At a district, you know, this time round, the past National Farmers Day, they did some at the district level. So somebody had a challenge commuting to the farm, and for his prize, they gave him an electronic gadget. And the person returned it to the assembly, which was so funny. The person would rather need a car or a tractor or a motorbike.
Something that would motivate him, or that
then
would...
you give the person an electronic or electric appliance, then it defeats the purpose.
Exactly.
So it was trending on social media at that time. It was quite funny. Let's get our priorities right. Let's not dictate to people, just like the Ghana Journalists Association. They did their awards night over the weekend. Somebody was doing rural reporting, and then for his prize, they gave him a mattress. So someone doing rural coverage, and Mr. Afebmoney, he's doing great to increase the welfare scheme there is for journalists across the country. We wish them the very best. But sometimes consulting prize winners before you give them prizes is also very important. I have so many. I have a whole gallery. Some I don't need now. Yes. Okay,
so that is to say, if you want to award a farmer or whoever, that depending on the particular awards or, I mean, whatever occupation that the person is doing, if you want to award the person, you'll have to award the person something that is aligning with the job that he is doing, rather than electrical.
Yes. So anyway. It was quite funny, so I felt I needed to chip in that. Very funny, with the farmer.
Okay, that's actually from City News. And then tension high in Wa. This is from Peace FM.
There are some conflict fault lines, not only in the north, Alavanyo and Nkonya, in the central region. According to the Chieftaincy Ministry, there are more cases in the BA and the central region than traditionally known areas with some of these conflict situations. So it's good we are picking the early warning signals. It's up to national security to do what it can to stifle or stymie any clash that could result in casualties.
Yeah, but I think this is not the first time. There had been other ones.
Casualty figures in Wa have been pretty low.
And what's really the cause?
It is Boko. Boko is quite a challenge. Alavanyo and then in the Nkonya regions are also a challenge. And then Dagbang also is not a challenge now. So therefore, it's good we are a step ahead of some of these conflicts or crisis situations, then we forestall any bloodshed.
Moving from the local news headlines to international one, the Kenyan school which changed an American boy's life. That's from BBC.
And you see, there is this trickle-down or bottom-up approach in pursuit of education and enlightenment. When people study here, they want to go to the US and continue. Or when we study here, we want to go to the UK to continue. And we want to see a reverse process take place now. And they should also come here and learn something from us. But how do we do that? We need to brand ourselves, we need to package ourselves well, and then come out with things that are unique to us as a continent. Then they will be interested in coming to Africa to pursue higher education. We don't have always to be going to them.
That will be all for our trending news for today. If you want to read more about those stories we had just highlighted, you can go to the various portals. That's MyJoy, City FM, Peace, and then BBC. I'll take a leave of Irbad for now. I'll be back with your comments. Keep your comments coming on our Facebook page, YouTube, I mean, all our social...
Thank you so much, Abina. We are streaming live on a multiplicity of platforms. And therefore, you can tune in wherever you are in the world. We'll go for a quick commercial break. When we come back, we have a discussion with the current chair of the Ghana Education Council on basic education. Do stick and stay with us. We'll be back shortly.
wɔtena ase din hunu sɛ nneɛma wɔbɔ yɛ nyinaa yɛ na adebɔ nto aso ba akɔ de hyɛ nipa nsa ne awo ɛne sɛ obi bɛwo aba wiase na kola na didam obi nso so ɛba wiase ansa na wabenya ɛfa akwanhyia mu ɛnam saa yɔ so ma Kantanka television ɛde dwumadie soronko kura din ɛda so ne makosɛm ɛbrɛ wo na dwumadie so ɛna wobɛhu obi a wɔfuru kube ɛkɔte ɛbɛgyina kwan ho ɛtɔn saa nso na obi a n'ani afira na wɔyɛ wo wɔwɔ ɛyɛ ɛho bibia wobɛhu obi ɔtete ahahan ɛne deɛ wɔno nso so ɛyɛ samana wɔn mo nyinaa ani afira na yasan so ne atitiriw atwetwe nkɔmmɔ afa mpewani nsɛn awaregya yɛ ho nsunsuasoɔ ɛne nkwadaa a yɛde wɔn kɔ nkoaso na bɛmo wɔhunu sɛ abrabɔ no a wɔbɔ no akyea nso ɛmu
Do you want to enroll your ward in a school where quality basic education, discipline and moral upbringing is our hallmark? Then come to Apostle Safo School of Arts and Sciences Basic School. Great Asas, Apostle Safo School of Arts and Sciences has vacancies in preschool, lower and upper primary, JHS 1 and JHS 2, with spacious and ventilated classrooms. The school also has excellent boarding facilities for students from upper primary to JHS. Great Asas also has a well-stocked library, a school bus that picks your ward from home to school and back home, with adequate security measures to ensure your ward safety. Apostle Safo School of Arts and Sciences Preschool has state-of-the-art learning materials to make learning fun for your ward. We also have the cadet corps and a cultural troupe to tap hidden talents in your ward. Locate Apostle Safo School of Arts and Sciences at Awoshi Last Stop, Accra. Great Asa!
Hey, hey, 2K Saleh Primary. Change lesson, please.
This is a good morning.
Why you late?
Oh, my main shampoo.
Why you late?
Melania, my last one.
Why you late? Bejabe, me. Why you late?
Say, Major, good morning.
Hey, why you late?
Oh, my main shampoo.
Oh, why you late?
Melania, my last one.
Hey, why you late? Me. You fat, but why you late?
Hey, school the big kaka. You just for know your F again. Hello, darling. Brother, for wake up, say, Major, myself. What time I need to have it last time? Baby, I'm a best one. I would do my time 11:30. Then put us in my bante.
What bantem won't? Me catch you, I won't so walk catch you. This boy, and Casa, you don't respect. I should need to be the assignment. Be he crying as a war. I be feeling class test. You waba baby, John Bulu say wine. Could you crab or no free pantine? And then I show my papa. Say why we are where pass a one from
quiet. This one is not my fault. I'm coming inside, I get call. It's not a phone call, it's not a home call. This one is a special nature's call.
And so, what are you waiting for? Menya nice man moko ngwaso ope kwa ko Naija offer pastor come lie down ye fast my time oko
say time need ye jai money
You're welcome back. And today we look at how we can make our current basic education system transformational. And we've lined up very competent people to help us with the discussion. And we have in the studios a veteran educationist and currently a lecturer with the Ghana Technology University, Mr. Osei Anto. Sir?
Thank you.
Thank you so much for making time.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Yeah, I'm very happy also to be here for the first time.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
How is GTUC doing?
It is doing very well.
Okay.
We had some little problems, but thankfully the government has set in to put things right.
Okay.
So we are all putting ourselves together
to
ensure that it becomes one of the leading universities in Ghana.
Okay. You're welcome.
Thank you.
And throughout the show, you can interact with us via WhatsApp on 0242 817 239. And in due course, you will have the opportunity to phone into the show to share your opinions and also ask any questions you may have. You can find us across various social media platforms. Sir, you're welcome once again.
Thank you very much.
When you look at the current state of education at the basic level, are we able to unearth talents, or we create a straitjacket that is cut to fit and determine the trajectory of the children's development?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm very grateful to be invited here to contribute, especially as I've gone through the system and I'm also with the system as a teacher. Okay. Unfortunately, I've not taught at the primary school level, but I've taught at the secondary school level, both O and A, before I started also improving upon my personal self to have the opportunity to also teach at the tertiary level, university level. The topic, as you're saying, transformational. I would rather, from my personal experience, look at it from the foundational. You see the point? Because once you lay a solid foundation, then you can transform the system with the kind of products that you bring out. So if you look at it in that manner, then what we experienced during our time, there are a lot of changes which supposedly are to be more modern than what we have, looking at the world view. But I also question that if that is the case, we are training children to become students, to become adults, to operate in the Ghanaian environment. So if you look at it critically, some of us are Ghanaian because of our background right from the primary schools. But if you look at it now, some graduates are not Ghanaian because of the system, and they are more internationally thinking by way of Europe, America, what pertains in the advanced countries. So these are the problems that some of us have. And that has a direct influence with respect to the kind of the system that operates at the primary school level, then up to the secondary school level.
When you say foundational, human beings are born so chaste and innocent. We are like a clean sheet.
That's it.
It depends upon the environment and the kind of teaching we are exposed to. How do you evaluate the kind of foundational knowledge we get at that infantile level?
Yeah, if you look at it critically, normally I talk from my own personal experiences, whereby in those days that we had the primary schools, the teachers were very, very dedicated to their job. They looked on as a vocation, not some kind of just getting the salary and at the end of the month, they go. Because I quite remember in our time, most of the primary schools were manned by non-trained teachers until they brought in the Set B, teacher training, and then the Set A, teacher training, to transform the level of the teaching certification to current systems whereby even people can graduate and still teach at the primary school level. My own sister is an example where she holds a BSc in audit and she's still teaching at the primary school level. So yes, in terms of the educational qualifications, the system has transformed itself, hoping that the products will be far better than ours. But we are talking about dedication to the job. Are the teachers so dedicated? Well, if I am, let's say, at the G, I say, oh, the teachers are dedicated. But those of us who are with the system and feeling it, we know that, yes, it is not every teacher who is dedicated, and it's not every teacher who is not dedicated. But whether dedicated or not depends upon the proportion of teachers that you see to be falling on the side of not being dedicated. That expresses the system. So these are the issues that we are talking about. Because I quite remember during our days, we were doing craft. You go to the bush, bring clay, and come and model certain things. We were taught to do things with our hands. Now, is that the case? You see? And one thing that I like about the Kufuor administration is that he extended the basic to the tertiary. This is the point. I mean, sorry, to the crèche. Before pre-primary, as part of the basic, so that those who have gotten training in those areas could also be paid by government and then give the foundation that I'm talking about. If you put it from our system in terms of the public to the private, you see that the private schools at the crèche level use the modern systems of tablets, where the children will be playing with tablets and whatnot. As soon as they leave those levels to the primary school level, are they privy to the use of tablets? You see, so the foundation that they got, as soon as they get to the primary school level, it is truncated. Unless some parents who happen to be in the urban areas get a chance of continuity sake, give their children the chance to.
But you are talking tablets.
Yes.
And the kind of opportunities there are to kids in cosmopolitan areas like Accra, are not available in far-flung villages. So how do we even out the ground, the playing field?
Yeah, the playing field is that there are two issues. Looking at the nature of our economy, we are a developing economy. Can the government take the burden alone? Seriously? So if the government cannot take the burden alone, how are other stakeholders also doing about it? The stakeholders, the communities, the parents, you know, and other philanthropists and churches and all that. Are they seeing the need of continuing from where this case in so-called international schools, private schools, enjoy it? Are they also ensuring that those in the public schools are given the right to? And that is one area too that the government will want to come in for now by the president, whereby they want to give the schools back to the churches. It's a very nice policy. I think I have written a lot about it in those days myself, because I enjoyed the largesse of attending a Catholic school, and I know how beneficial it has been for me. So if the schools are giving back to the missions, apart from inculcating in them their own versions of Christianity, will give the real foundations to the children to benefit.
I'm a product of Catholic education. I went to Opokwari School, a mission school. And of course, there are other schools like
I went to St. John's School, secondly.
Okay. Ahmadiyya and a host of others. How do you compare basic schools in university settings with other schools? For example, University of Ghana has got a basic wing. When you go to KNUST, University Primary. Does the fact that the children get exposed to such a high academic environment have any impact on the kind of foundational knowledge they get?
Of course. Because where are the children coming from? They are coming from the workers and teachers of those institutions. So naturally, those workers know the kind of environment where they are. And the teachers know what makes a good teacher from the child. So they are more opportune to get the levels of education that will project them into higher levels than those in the community areas because of the environment. Because if you go to my town, my mother and father will go to the farm expecting that the child will go to school, or even ensure that the child goes to school while the person is in the farm. So between the child and the mother and father, he has that mindset of school, farm, school, farm. You see the point? Not that farming is not good, but that is the mindset. It doesn't have any challenging opportunities other than the farming. There's not until the child grows to the university to do agree to know the benefits of farming. That's why you have reflections of the state of the mother and father as farmers, and then appreciate what they were doing and go on. But the environment counts very, very much. So the kind of exposure that our children at the primary school levels especially are having in the rural areas is quite not as challenging for them to progress into higher levels as those in the cities.
There was someone, a much younger colleague of yours, who came here, and then we also spoke with the national president of NAGRAT. Yeah. He says he has no qualms whatsoever about how many subjects we teach kids at that basic level. It's about quality. And now you are making a point that we expose them to latest technology very early. Yeah. In your time, you were crafting. Yes. You were playing with clay. Yeah. Do you think we should give the children a long rope to play and find out their innate talent rather than using a structured scheme to let them grow into the kind of adults we want?
Yeah, you see, if you want to look at what is happening in other areas, especially the Scandinavian areas, within the primary levels, the children play more than, they give them more room to express themselves rather than inculcating in them what they think and we believe as knowledge. Now, when my grandchildren come from school and they are subjected to homework, I say, what is it? Are they parrots or what? You see, yesterday, one of my grandchildren and the father, the child was weeping. Seriously, while the father was insisting that you do your homework. What does the child benefit? But if they play with us, the English they speak and the experience they have is far higher and greater than giving them homework. The brain does not even rest. These are the issues. So when they had this midterm last week, they will give them assignments to cover the 3-4 days so that every day. Then why do you give them midterms?
Maybe the notion is that if their minds go, if they don't do too much, their brains will go stale.
Is that so?
So I don't know whether there is any literature, any body of evidence that points to the fact that a child's mind should be let loose, so to speak, so that naturally the person can absorb or imbibe knowledge rather than the rigorous one.
You wouldn't have been here, and you wouldn't have been among the best, I can say. Because in those days, when we are on holidays, our area of activity is farming. You don't know what are books. You go to farm, you go to church, you go to farm, until school reopens, and then you go back. By which time you have been refreshed, the mind will have been much more refreshed. And these are some of the issues I want the educational practices for now be taken into consideration. There's too much pressure on the children. There's too much pressure. So, and their rate of absorption is not as high as ours. So they carry it on even to the university levels, where they cannot think for themselves. They are parrot. They want you to do things for them. They can't think. And that is the greatest problem for those of us teaching at the tertiary level, where the student will want you to do everything. Even to cite an example, the student will want you to cite the example, and in the exam, he will bring your example without expanding it.
Okay. Very refreshing thoughts. And I think the purpose of this show is to critically evaluate some of the challenges there are and then proffer solutions to them. And you made a very good point, sir, that we overburden the kids at such a very tender age. Middle-class families have this challenge. They don't want their kids to play with other people's kids in the neighborhood. So as soon as they come, they are driven straight into the house. They change, they take, their late snack, late afternoon snack, and they are back on their books. So what kind of routine would you advocate? That yes, of course, education is very important, but subjecting the children to a barrage of information at that age is too early.
Yeah, and that is what we have to be interrogating and then bringing useful suggestions for some of these things. And I'll question the kind of, let's say, education that even the teachers get to implant into the kids. are they forced to learn and overlearn, and the more you learn, the more you know, or what? The more you are subjected to the book type of education, the better for you, or what? So, as we are saying, we must combine the exposure, the playing, and everything with the books, so that the child is able to express himself or herself. You're talking about this question of, let's say, even community interaction. Yes, but you see, community interaction doesn't mean that my grandchild comes from school and I should allow him to play with the kids around. No, there's a different orientation.
Okay.
One, I may be living in a little bit grandeur house with my kids. The neighborhood children, by way of the environmental aspects, sanitation, whatever, you know, instead of getting even something from the neighbors, they get maybe some diseases and whatnot and all that. So you consider all this, whether the children within your neighborhood are the same, let's say, environmentally sound area like those.
Then we are creating a class system even
no,
at that
it's not a
level.
class system. It's not a class system. You know, the class system, that's why when we take best practices, why we go to Europe and whatever, they have neighborhood playing grounds for the kids. There, equal facilities have been given for the children to play. But I wouldn't allow my grandchild to come from school, put off the kids, and jumps into the area where he'll be contaminated, so to speak, not with the children, but with the environment. That is what I'm stressing on. It's the environment that I'm stressing on, you know. So what do? I will try as much as possible to convince them that, yes, you can play with your children, or bring them in. Bring them into the house so that they can enjoy your kind of environment, and then they play. But to go into that environment where it is unfriendly to them, not by the person, but the environmental conditions itself, then of course I have to be cautious.
Normally, the children of the poor are invited into the houses of the rich to play with the rich kids. We go for a quick commercial break. We'll be back shortly. Yeah.
Hello, lovely people of Africa, African Youth Time. This is the show, as I rightly said, that gives African youth the platform to have an up close with living legends who are helping build the continent.
The youth of Africa, they have a lot of potential.
What is killing Africans is our inability to discover and identify our potentials and what we can do for ourselves.
Nobody makes you a leader. You become a leader.
We are not poor. The resources in Congo alone can feed the whole Africa.
Onipa how ene ne da chensi ena abribia wo sori prayer hwehwe na hoto ahoto ne nso emma prekope enkukuhwe ase ene wo how bebre ene wo mu wenti ena Kantanka TV ya hwehwe dwumadie foforo kra ya tudin se edwasonsem wodwasonsem dwumadie so ye baba kuna adwadefo ne abusa wo mo how ene wo mama ne wo mo efa mu na empo se edaw bitai akira a wode pre ahwehwe wonda achen ahoto eno ti hia wo nua ba ama adwobi e wo Kantanka TV ne emfa edwasonsem emfa mbro.
You're welcome back. We are still here in the studios with Mr. Osei Anto, a veteran educationist, making some interesting views that may sound a bit unconventional. Maybe go back into history books all the great people we got, even President Kufuor at some point, I'm sure, at that basic level, he would play out in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
You would play with the kids, go up to the backyard and play football and all that. But eventually they grew into really great people. But now we may even have to vaccinate the children of the poor before they can mix up with our own children.
Yeah, it's not necessary so, as I'm saying, because I enjoyed that aspect of where in the village everybody plays with everybody because they live under the same environmental conditions. When you come into the city where there's a difference between environments, then wherever you are, you must be very careful about the hygiene and whatever. Not necessarily the person, as I was saying. Not necessarily the person that all. Because you bring them home, they come and sit in and play with them. But to go into that, just like it's raining and you go there, by the time they come, they are soiled, their legs and all that, that may not be helpful anyway. So you have to look at that within the educational aspects.
Okay. And we have on the phone the current chairperson of Ghana Education Council, Mr. Michael Nsoa. Sir, good morning. And did I get the title right? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Hello? Okay, we are trying to connect with the current chairperson of the Ghana Education Council, Mr. Michael Nsoa. It's not going to be a scratch on the surface. We are going to delve deeper and deeper into education, find out the challenges we have as a country, and find ways to resolve those challenges. Do I have you on, Michael Nsoa? Nsoa?
Nsoa.
Hello? Good morning, sir.
Oh, the line is breaking.
Okay. Is it clearer now?
Hello?
Yes, sir. I can hear you loud and clear. Good morning.
Good morning.
The title, is it Mr. Dr. or Professor Michael Nsoa? Okay.
Mr.
Thank you so much, Mike, for making time. We are discussing basic education, and we are looking at the foundational approaches we use and how we can transform education at the basic level. Where do we stand as a country now?
No, I don't understand your question.
Okay. In terms of the kind of curricula we use and the kind of philosophy that undergirds giving education to the tender ones at that formative stage, where do we stand? How is our condition like currently?
Well, currently we're still emphasizing on the basic foundation on literacy and numeracy at the very low levels, KG to primary 3. So that's so that they will get a firm foundation in numeracy and literacy, so that when they move up, they will be able to cope with the work at the upper primary.
And so far across the nation, regardless of geographical disadvantage and income levels for all countries, are we seeing any marked difference amongst children across the country?
No, you don't expect, when you say across the country, that every child is performing at a certain level. Certainly, there will be, apart from the individual differences among the children, the issue of logistics and so on. Sometimes we have a challenge, and therefore areas are well served. That's why we have underserved areas and so on. It includes even the availability of teachers. Okay. The aim of the system is to make sure that every child is taught by a qualified teacher. Okay. But we haven't got there yet.
Okay. So the most disadvantaged still remain those rural communities in various parts of the country.
Well, if you are talking in terms of the availability of the required indicators like teachers and books, it differs from place to place. You can have even in Greater Accra, there are schools that don't have even proper tables and chairs to sit on, and they don't have the complement of teachers. So you don't just make a blanket statement that all underserved or disadvantaged areas are the areas that you don't, they are facing these challenges.
Okay, that's quite a valid point. Michael, how many subjects do you teach the children, or you are policy makers, decision makers? What instructions do you give in terms of the number of subjects?
You see, every knowledge area is classified as a subject, but not all knowledge areas are offered at all levels. For instance, if you are talking about the early years, the emphasis is on numeracy and literacy. Now, it doesn't mean other areas are not taught. The other areas are also taken care of, just that they are not examinable. So, for instance, they appear on the timetable as English, Maths. In the lower levels, you have religious and moral education, PE, music, and so on. But basically, when it comes to assessments, it's mainly in the English and Maths and maybe social studies.
There has been a lot of argument that the primary language every child speaks is their mother tongue.
Yeah.
How do we meander our way through the labyrinth of fitting into an international system where you teach English as a universal language and making sure the children don't lose their culture and identity?
Well, the policy since colonial times has been that we use the local language in the early years, up to P3. So, and that is what we should try to do. The controversy is about the term you use, mother tongue. Certainly, if you start using the term mother tongue, then you run into problems because the mothers of the children come from different areas and backgrounds.
That's an interesting point.
Exactly. No, that is the truth. But in many countries where they've been able to use the local language, or rather use the term local language, you go to certain parts of the country and the predominant language that everybody speaks is what is used. So, but the moment you start using mother tongue, then parents will even insist that my child should be taught in my native language and that kind of thing, and that does not help the system.
So you think Akan Twi could stand for a universal local dialect, so to speak, because of its ubiquity?
Oh, but there are certain areas that they don't speak Akan, so you cannot legislate that that is the only one that should be used. No, even though everywhere, I normally use traders. Before you can trade in all parts of the country, you need to speak Akan, because everywhere you go, the marketplaces, everybody, that is the language of the trading. But when it comes to classroom work, it doesn't happen like that because people have not been exposed. The children especially may have been or may not have been exposed to the Akan language, and therefore it would be a mistake to do that.
Maybe this will be my final question. We live in a technological era, and new and flashy devices come year in, year out. Considering the level of inequity, so to speak, with logistics, would you say IT education should be scrapped entirely at that basic level until they reach a certain pedestal where we can introduce that?
No, I wouldn't say that. Because even though there are certain areas where you don't even get electricity, so to talk about using IT or using IT in those schools, it's only a dream. But we must continue to, as we move on, certainly as we go along, areas will now be open through the the extension of electricity and then information superhighway, so that, because there are some areas where there's electricity, but receiving, signals is also a challenge, and that is beyond the Ministry of Education. So until all sectors have been able to improve on their performance, roads, internet, communication, and so on, then it will be very, but that doesn't mean because other areas have not been served, we should stop. No.
I said finally, but this has to be the finally. They say a well-nourished, body provides a very refreshing mind. Yes. I would want to ask you about the condition of feeding in some of the basic school. How is the school feeding program going now? Well, for now, the school feeding is not under the Ministry of Education. It's under the Ministry of Gender and Children and so on. But I think even this morning there was a news item that everything, at least those schools where the program is ongoing, everything is going well, because even the caterers who were owed some monies have been released from the Ministry of Finance to pay for the last quarter and so on. So I think in all, everything is moving on smoothly. Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Michael Nsowa, current chair, Ghana Education Council. Thank you so much for making time. You're welcome. Okay, thank you. Osei, Mike makes some really interesting points. Oh, yeah, very well. And then I would want to ask you, he says the world is moving. We should wake up and smell the coffee. We can't say because of the inequalities in the system. Do you really agree with him? Oh, sure. Because there are schools where they talk about a mouse, and they use a stone. Yeah, I think I agree with him on most of what he said. Okay. He has talked sincerely. In fact, I was listening to him, and being an educationist that he is, he has talked so sincerely that I appreciate his contributions. Because even in America, if you go, though they say it's the big apple, but some people don't eat the apple itself. Yeah. But New York City. New York. So these are issues which, and you see, it's very, very important that we are talking about the basic, but the basic also links up to the higher levels. So the kind of foundation that we give to the basic will reflect in the kind of people who grew up to the universities to come out. Sorry, maybe we, okay. So we'll soon open the phone lines, so that you may ask any questions or make contributions you want. Okay, you may go ahead. Yeah, so he has said it, and I quite agree with him that it cannot be equal from the city to the village level. But you see, we will have to try our best to ensure that, especially at these assembly levels, the gap between the privileged and non-privileged must be closed gradually, even if it is. But if you go to our districts, I don't see anything that suggests to the fact that schools within the capitals of the district and some big towns in the districts, and schools at the outlandish villages, they are trying to close the gap. They must have an aggressive policy to try to close the gap. Because if you don't put something ahead of you that this is what I want to achieve, it will never happen. So yes, every child cannot be everywhere, especially the cities. Some may grow up and then from the villages too. But the opportunities that are available in terms of classrooms, in terms of equipment, books and whatnot, they must ensure that that gap is gradually closed. In fact, I was in Israel, and it's a desert place. What I noticed about Israel was that they were trying to forest the whole Israel. And you could see some trees so tall, some so short, and others so at the natural state. Okay. And you could see a progression of putting up the desert into a forest. And that is where I think at the primary school level, the privileges in the communities could be bridged with an aggressive policy. Okay, you may now join the conversation. Call us on our phone line, 0249-696-122. That will be boldly, is already there. You may call on to the show. So therefore, you think we are not being aggressive and robust enough? No.
Go and ask the district chief executive since its inception in 1993. Nobody thinks about bridging a deliberate intervention to bridge the gap between the privileged and the non-privileged, which is an indictment on us as a nation. Throughout the politics since the Fourth Republic, there has not been any deliberate attention to bridge the gap between the privileged and the non-privileged.
So a child is born into a poor family. Chances are the child will get a poor basic education.
Unless the child is by nature, gifted and
it's precocious.
That's it.
Okay, so you may now join the conversation so that whatever questions or concerns you have could also be addressed. And one other question. Okay, there's a caller. Hello, your name and where you calling from? Hello, caller. Okay. I raised one point with Chair Ghana Education Council about feeding, and he says it doesn't actually fall within the purview of the Education Ministry.
Under the Ministry of
Okay,
Gender.
I think our caller is on now. Hello.
Hello, yeah, good morning.
Hello.
Yeah, good morning.
Okay, yes. So he says it falls under the Gender Ministry.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
who does the quality control?
Yeah, good morning.
Hi, good morning. Your name and where you calling from?
My name is Ampofo Konto, and I'm calling from Kaneshie.
Ampofo. Speak up a bit, bro. Go ahead, Ampofo. Okay. The lines have not been too gracious.
Because it's been raining here or there. So
yes.
It's affecting the...
Okay. Yeah. So, so
why
about
should
this
school feeding? For me, I think there should be a reconsideration to put the program under the Ministry of Education, because it has direct influence on the child, and that will also affect the child, whether eating or not, properly or not, and then the kind of...
Let's try this time around and see whether the line will be okay. Hello.
Yeah, hello, good morning.
Good morning. Your name and where you calling from?
Yeah, my name is Richard.
Richie, you calling from where?
I'm calling from Kwashiman.
Kwashiman. Welcome, Richard.
Yeah, I'm also a teacher. I teach at Grace International School.
Okay.
You know, my main problem is with the level of supervision.
Level of supervision.
At the basic level.
Important.
You know, apparently we have trained teachers teaching at the basic level. So that should tell you that our basic level should have improved as of now. But why do we have the private basic school moving on, flourishing, and excelling as well? But when you go to the public schools, everything is being done anyhow. Yeah, we should pay rapt attention to our level of supervision at the public school. I'm a trained teacher from University of Education, Winneba.
Okay.
But I chose to work in a private school, and it has shaped my life. The best is not coming from the trained teachers at all. And that's the more reason why we are going through this hardship.
Okay, Richard, thank you so much for sharing. We really appreciate.
Yeah.
And this is a testimony from a practitioner.
Yeah,
people will only do what you inspect and not what you expect. So who enforces monitoring at that level to make sure things are done right?
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. If you're a trained professional, for me as a HR personnel, you don't need as much supervision as you may think. Because you said you want to be a teacher. You have trained to be a teacher. And the only thing for me is to perform for my own conscience and integrity and the integrity of the profession that I've chosen to. You see the point? So if you say that because of non-supervision, you can't work,
okay.
I think it's...
So let's try to lump that with this other call. Hello, your name and where you calling from?
Yeah, my name is Ampofo Konto, and I'm calling from Kaneshie.
I'm calling us from Kaneshie. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Please. What I mean, what Mr. Andre is saying, what is education?
Okay.
Because in Ghana, education, I'm making like if you did not pass math or science, you are not part of education system. But some of us are going to be athletics, football, and so many things. But in Ghana, it's like politicians, it's those who are running our education system. This party will come and bring its ideas, one child, one laptop. But if you come to my school, like Namibet said, maybe you don't know them, and you give one child a laptop. If the teacher they don't know anything about IT, how the children are going to benefit? Someone will claim free feeding. Free feeding, let's say from John Yakunko for and this current president, how much as a nation we have spent about free feeding. Now, is it benefiting the state or the politicians?
Okay.
It's like they have made education like their own selfish interest, not for the benefit of their children.
Okay.
Like in the country, they have to manage our education system, not politicians.
Okay.
But in Ghana, our education in their own hands. They run out. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your concerns. Yes.
So you are talking about this question of school.
Yes.
It is needed,
but
not to the extent that you have to be supervised before you produce as a professional. I don't believe in that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
this question
concern, do technocrats determine our educational policy, or we should leave that to politicians?
Oh, sure, it should be institutional. And technocrats man institutions. So if you're an educationist, you have passed through it, you learn from other jurisdictions, and then see what the best for our developing economy.
Okay.
These are, so as soon as politicians come in, then it's a different ballgame.
Okay. We are now joined by Abena Safo. Abena Safo will read some of your WhatsApp messages. Abena, you're welcome.
Thank you.
What do you have for us by way of message? Oh, I see. Thank you.
Okay, Maxwell from Ejura. I am really enjoying the show. Keep it up, Kantanka TV. And then Felix from Mampong. I think the educational authorities should really do something about our subjects we learn in class. And then another one, this is from Alice. Good morning. This is from Alice from Atunzu. Good morning. Good area of discussion. And then the next one, can the chairman enlighten us on the measurements of success per the various indicators of our school educational model?
Abena, let's take this last caller. Okay. Hello, your name and where you're calling from? Hello, caller. Okay. So, Abena, you may finish up with the message.
Okay. And then this one, oh, Ghana, we still lack electricity. Okay, this is actually not the area of discussion, but I still have to read it. We still lack education. We still lack electricity in some area of the country. Nanama from Cantonment.
Okay, I think our caller has come through. Sorry about that. Hello, your name and where you calling from? No, please do, Katri. Don't worry. Feel free. We are here for you.
Okay. And maybe I'm saying education. But you can't education. But Ghana is school now. I say the one campbell of 1 year science here. One school no. But school no. Obi bobo. Obi otumika. Obi no want to be. But yeah, education say obi interest. And the school no. Obi about me double track. I didn't tell you, I said, this school is a miss out to move on with the interest. I'm going to show myself. I'm going to manage school no war man. It's not part of that. It's also a school. Now, every 8 years, it's school then every 8 years, we didn't argue that.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much.
That's what we see on the school. And before no, and from school. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your call. Thank you so much. Okay. Yeah, Abena, you have a few more, right?
Yeah. And then another one says, I feel education should be devoid of politics and the nation should get an educational policy management board to get education plans for the country. That's from Nana from Takrady. And also to remind you that we do appreciate all of your comments. Keep them coming on our various platforms. And
okay,
you're still watching News Magazine.
Okay, thank you, Abena. Thank you so much. So in closing, kindly lump this up in a minute or so for me. What are some of the recommendations you would give?
Yeah, as an educationist who has passed through from the deepest of the villages to the highest of cities.
Yes, you were making a point about environment, disease infestation.
Yes.
Your time, we were playing in the gutters
that's
together.
The point. But together, you were playing and you faced the same environmental hazards. And some of us survived, others could not survive.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want my
your grandchildren
child to also suffer the same thing. Yeah. So, in fact, it has been a very nice discussion. What we are all aiming at is the proper upbringing of the child right from the beginning to have all the opportunities available to the child to grow to become an adult within his or her professional choices. You know, what I mean is this, that whether you are at the village or at the city, the effort within our national budget, let me put it that way, must be made towards bridging the gap between the rural village primary school child and the urban primary school child. Because, you see, the potential is there, the teacher is there, and then if the necessary facilities are not provided, and if the necessary programs targeted, deliberately targeted, to ensure that the gap is closed, it will take us longer and longer years. Okay. And that is what I think these assemblies could play for us.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Osei Anto, a veteran educationist and a lecturer at Ghana Technology University College. And we also spoke with Michael Nsowa, chairperson of Ghana Education Council. So we come your way next time with another edition of News Magazine. Stay blessed and keep watching Kantanka TV.